Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. In my past life, a city youth who had come to our village fell in love with me at first sight. He pursued me for 3 years, but everyone around me kept brainwashing me, saying that city people were shallow and unreliable. They told me that once he returned to the city, he would definitely leave me, that he only wanted to mess around and wasn't serious. Eventually, my parents married me off to a rugged man from the village. They said he was honest and simple and that he would surely treat me well. The city youth soon married my younger sister. But the truth was the rugged man had been in love with my sister all along. I ended up locked inside our home, used like a childbearing machine, while my sister followed the city youth back to the city and became a well-off city wife. When I had a difficult labor and begged to be taken to the hospital, my sister refused. I died in bed, bleeding out, as she looked at me coldly and told me the truth. They had only been able to get married because I was given to the rugged man in her place. "You made me live like a widow all these years," she said. "You deserve to die." My husband held her tenderly in his arms and said, "I promised I'd never let you suffer through childbirth." When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time just before marrying him. I looked at my loving parents who wanted the best for me and at my sister who appeared so caring, but I said coldly, "I won't marry him." "Stop being ridiculous. We already accepted the Walker family's betrothal gift," my father, Robert Miller, said, his face flushing red with frustration. He looked at me with deep disappointment. "There are plenty of folks who want to marry into the Walker family. I had to beg and pull strings just to secure this match." When I didn't respond and kept my head down, he softened his tone. "Once you marry Jacob Walker, you'll still be close to home. You'll have food and clothes and won't have to worry about anything. Isn't that a good life?" "Yes, sis. I'm sure Jacob will treat you well. He might look fierce, but he's really gentle," my little sister, Emily Miller, chimed in playfully. But when I looked at her innocent, carefree face, the memories from my past life came rushing back like a flood. I saw myself lying on a filthy, chaotic bed, bleeding uncontrollably. I had begged him to take me to the hospital. Emily, dressed in a pretty little dress, curled up in my husband's arms, had shaken her head and said, "You made me live like a widow all these years. You deserve to die. Being the one to continue the Walker family line is a blessing for you." It was then that I realized Emily had long been involved with Jacob. He cared about her and didn't want her to suffer the pain of childbirth, so he let me do it instead. "If you think he's so great, then you marry him," I said, turning to Emily. "Didn't she like Jacob? Fine, let her have him this time." Emily's mouth dropped open in disbelief. "Anna, what nonsense are you talking about? What's wrong with Jacob? He's tall and strong. Just from hunting alone, he could make sure you eat and live well every day." My father, Robert, slammed his hand on the table in anger. "I want to marry Jason Chin," I said firmly. At the mention of Jason Chin, my parents both looked at me in utter disbelief. That was because he was completely different from the close-minded conservative villagers of Riverfield. 3 years ago, Jason had come to Riverfield as part of the City Youth program. He was tall and well-built with sharp, handsome features, more attractive than any movie star. The girls in the village were always finding excuses to walk by the fields just to catch a glimpse of him. But Jason ignored them all. When they bothered him too much, he didn't hesitate to drive them away bluntly. Later, while he was cutting grass, Jason got bitten by a snake. I happened to pass by and saved him. After that, he began openly pursuing me, bringing me food and daily necessities, helping me carry firewood and wash clothes. Whenever I showed up, he was there by my side. In this backward village where marriages were arranged by parents and matchmakers, his behavior was considered outrageous. His reputation began to suffer. Everyone told me not to be fooled by a smooth-talking city guy. He was too good-looking and slick. They said he must be a player. People whispered about a city youth in the neighboring village who had gotten a girl pregnant, but refused to marry her, and she ended up hanging herself. "Guys like him just want to hook up with pretty girls like you," the village aunties warned. "Stay away from him." Even my parents didn't like him. "Sweetheart, are you running a fever?" my mom asked as she reached out to feel my forehead. Anxiety thickened her voice as she wrung her hands and paced around the room. The Walker family is one of the most respected households in the village, she continued. They live in a 3-story brick house, and Jacob Walker is strong enough to do the work of 3 men on his own. But Jason Chin, he's just a city youth sent down here. He lives in one of those temporary houses the village assigned. He looks so frail, like he can't even lift a shovel. Emily, clearly unwilling to back down, pulled out a silver pocket watch. Jason already said he wants to marry me. Look, this is what he gave me as a promise. The moment I saw that silver watch, the memories came flooding back. In my past life, Emily had shown me that exact same watch, saying it was Jason's engagement gift to her. I had been hesitating back then, unsure whether to accept the marriage proposal from the Walker family. When I saw that watch, I thought Jason had truly changed his heart, and I gave in to my parents' decision without resistance. Give it to me, I shouted, shoving Emily hard and sending her tumbling to the ground. I grabbed the watch from her hands and bolted out of the house. Nothing like the obedient, well-mannered daughter I had always been. I ran all the way out of the village, only stopping when I reached the edge of the fields. Clutching the pocket watch tightly, I thought about how foolish I had been in my past life. So gullible, so willing to believe what I was told. Dad insisted on marrying me into the Walker family. And to make me more desirable, he tricked Jacob into marrying me. I tried everything to please Jacob, but he wouldn't even touch me. He kept secretly sending money to Emily, and worst of all, he did it under my name. It made me sick. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I crouched on the edge of the field and broke down in tears. Then I heard a male voice with a soft northern accent. Ida. I looked up and saw Jason Chin standing in front of me, wearing a crisp white shirt, bending down slightly. He had barely said 2 words before my crying got even louder. Jason looked flustered as he pulled out a handkerchief, hesitated midway, then placed it gently in my hand instead of wiping my tears himself. After I had wiped my eyes, he turned his head away and asked softly, Anna, are you crying because you don't want to marry me? If you don't want to, I'll go talk to Mr. Miller right away. Please don't be upset. His voice cracked a little. I didn't want to see you cry. Hearing that, I got angry and threw the handkerchief at him. That's not it. I don't want to marry Jacob Walker. My dad's the one trying to force me to. Jason's eyes widened in shock. What? That can't be right. Did Mr. Tot Miller misunderstand something? I was still sniffling as I pulled out the crumpled silver pocket watch. Didn't you give this to Emily? She said it was your engagement gift. Jason, having gone through so much, was no longer the innocent young man from before. He immediately understood what had happened. Holding my wrist, the one clutching the watch, he looked at me seriously and said, I only want to marry you. I asked Mr. Miller to pass this watch to you. It's just that I haven't seen you lately. My eyes burned again. My parents had been setting up this marriage and they kept telling me not to go out, especially not to be seen with Jason. They said villagers would gossip. I had deliberately avoided him, and that gave Emily the perfect opening. Let's go register our marriage, I said with resolve, balling my fists tightly. In the village, getting married just meant holding a banquet. No one talked about registering legally. Jason froze. He had chased after me for years, but the village was so conservative, and I always kept my distance. He thought I didn't like him. Anna, are you serious? His voice trembled slightly. Tomorrow morning, wait for me at the village entrance. I'll sneak out with the household registration book, I said. Before I could say another word, Jason pulled me into a tight embrace. I immediately looked around to see if anyone was nearby. How could he be so bold? Thank you, Jason, I said softly. The clean scent of his soap mixed with the evening breeze and wrapped around me. By the time I snuck back into the house through the back door, it was already dark. My mom, Linda Miller, was in the backyard slaughtering a chicken. As always, Emily clung to her side, whining. Mom, what are we going to do? If Anna doesn't marry him soon, Jacob Walker's going to come demanding his bride. He's huge. I don't want to marry him, she said anxiously. Linda plucked feathers without even looking up. Serves you right. You kept stringing him along. Now you think marrying a city guy is that easy? Emily pouted. How was I supposed to know he'd be so hard to win over? She's just jealous that someone likes Anna. She only cozied up to Jacob because she wanted someone to help her with chores. Linda sighed. Honestly, we don't really want our eldest moving far away either. It'd be nice to have her nearby to take care of us when we're older. Your sister's too soft-hearted. Later, make sure she gets more chicken. Sweet talk her and she'll agree. I bit down hard on my lip to keep from making a sound. Ever since I was little, I'd been obedient and filial. Yet, my parents never showed me extra affection. Instead, they tried every way to make me stay in the village and serve them. Meanwhile, Emily was lazy and selfish, but all it took was a little whining for Mom to side with her. At dinner, Linda gave both drumsticks to me. Once you're married, you'll be part of another family. Thank goodness you're marrying into the Walkers. Make sure you visit often. Okay. In my past life, after marrying Jacob Walker, they always found reasons to call me back whenever they needed help. When my brother needed money for his wedding, they came to me. They even helped themselves to the Walker family's belongings multiple times. With every visit, my standing in the Walker household diminished. When I was in labor, they were off collecting grain, and didn't even bother to show up. My life meant nothing to them. I ate the chicken without saying a word. They thought my silence meant I had given in, and their faces lit up with joy. That night, while my parents slept, I crept into their bedroom closet and stole the household registration book. While I was at it, I also found 50 yuan and 3 packets of candy sealed in red paper hidden at the bottom of the wardrobe, likely the Walker family's engagement gift. I took those too. I wrapped everything up in cloth and headed out just as the sky began to lighten. At sunrise, I knocked on the door of Jacob Walker's house. Who is it? Jacob opened the door wearing a tight black tank top, his tan muscles straining against the fabric. His brow bones were prominent, his eyes deeply set. He looked like someone you wouldn't want to mess with. Just seeing him made me tense up instinctively. It's me, I said. What are you doing here? We're not even married yet, and you're already running over to my place, he said sharply, stepping aside to let me in. He went to the kitchen and brought out some freshly boiled corn, probably his breakfast. Don't go around talking to men so casually, he scolded. Don't be like you were with that city guy. Jacob already saw himself as my husband. In my past life, it had started the same way. First, I wasn't allowed to talk to men. Then, I wasn't allowed to show my face in public. Eventually, I wasn't even allowed in the fields. I can provide for you. Just stay home and behave, he'd said. I quickly placed the 50 yuan and candy packets on the table before he could say another word. Let's break off the engagement, I said. Jacob crushed the corn in his hand, gritting his teeth. What the hell did you just say? My brow furrowed. There it was again. Anytime something didn't go his way, he turned cruel. I was shaking, so I just closed my eyes and said, my sister likes you. She says you're capable and gentle, the ideal husband. As her older sister, I can't compete with her. I said everything Emily had used to persuade me, all in one breath. Jacob stared at me without blinking, completely dumbfounded. In my past life, I never found out what Emily had told him that made him stop pursuing her and follow through with marrying me under our parents' arrangement. But now that he knew how much Emily liked him, surely he'd go ask for her hand himself. Don't regret this, Jacob growled after a long pause, forcing the words out through clenched teeth. Then he slammed the door in my face and threw me out. As soon as I stepped out of the Walker yard, I saw Jason Chen standing under a tree, his expression unreadable. I walked over and took his hand. I just went to return the engagement gift, I said. Don't be upset, okay? Jason's ears turned bright red. I'm not upset, he mumbled. But even just holding hands had his face burning. So much for being an open-minded city guy. He gave me a ride on his bike, and we pedaled into town toward the marriage registration office. But just as we reached the entrance, he stopped suddenly. Anna, if you've changed your mind, we can go back, he said. Yet even as he spoke, he didn't loosen his grip on my hand. I shook my head. Whether someone truly cared about me wasn't something I could learn from rumors. It had to be judged by their actions. Everyone in the village said Jason was a flirt, that he was too forward. But I had never seen him act inappropriately with any other girl. He had chased me for 3 years and never even dared to hold my hand. After I married in my past life, He never came looking for me again. It wasn't until I was dying that I found out he had been sending me money every month under Emily's name, afraid I might be suffering. After we got our marriage certificate, Jason tucked both his and mine close to his chest and said he wanted to keep them himself. Then he took me to the market where he bought me a new dress, some floral face cream, and sesame candy. Finally, he even bought a radio. Seeing my confused expression, he chuckled. We didn't elope, did we? I'm going to bring all of this to your house and formally ask for your hand. With bags in hand, we walked back to the Miller house only to find a crowd of villagers gathered at the entrance. There was even a massive wild boar, easily over 100 pounds, tied up at the door. Looks like we're finally getting to drink at little Jacob's wedding feast. Huh? Someone laughed. I told you the Walkers were marrying a Miller girl. You didn't believe me. Anna's a fine match, pretty and sensible. Another chimed in. They were all there to enjoy the show, thinking Jacob Walker had come to propose to me. But just then, someone turned and spotted me and Jason walking hand in hand. Their jaws dropped. What's going on? Why is she still hanging around with Jason Chin? Broad daylight. No shame at all. Emily was in the crowd too. She rushed over and tried to drag me back toward the house. Anna, come on. Get back here. Jacob's here to propose. The second the villagers heard that, the gossip exploded, flirting with everyone. Where'd she learn that from? I had no intention of responding, but Jason suddenly stopped. His sharp gaze swept across the crowd. Shut up, he said coldly. If I hear another word about Anna, don't blame me for what happens next. He didn't care what they said about him, but he wouldn't let them speak badly of me. At the entrance of the yard, Jacob Walker stood tall and intimidating in the middle of the crowd. When he saw us, he suddenly spoke up. Mr. Miller, I've come to formally propose. I want to ask for your younger daughter, Emily's hand in marriage. Emily, who had been gripping my arm, went pale. My father, Robert Miller, had a smile frozen on his face as he processed the second half of that sentence. Emily's still young, he began, but Jacob cut him off. He pulled out a handkerchief. This was a gift from her. We've been together for a while now. Please give us your blessing. He turned to Emily and asked, Isn't that right, Emily? Terrified, Emily could only nod. Gasps spread through the crowd. Wasn't Jacob after Anna? And now he's saying he's been with Emily all along. Robert stood there speechless. Meanwhile, Jason stepped forward with all the shopping bags in his hands. Mr. Miller, I'm here to propose too. I want to marry Anna. Realizing he had been caught trying to play both sides, Robert's face flushed bright red. He didn't even look at Jason, but Jason didn't mind in the slightest. Jason smiled and said, You clearly promised me I could be with Anna. But then you gave my pocket watch to Emily and tried to marry Anna off to someone else. How do you explain that? Now the crowd finally understood what had really been going on. And the way they looked at Robert Miller changed completely. My father had always had a good reputation in the village. He was even often asked to mediate disputes. But now it was clear he had tried to trick both families into marriage. Sensing the tension, my mother, Linda Miller, quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Oh, it's all just a big misunderstanding. Jacob will marry Emily and Jason will marry Anna. Let's settle it like that. At this point, Robert had no choice but to agree. After the crowd had finally dispersed, Emily clung to Mom, crying so loudly it shook the walls. While everyone was busy comforting her, I quietly slipped the household registration book back into its original place. That night, just before bed, Emily dropped her usual sweet little sister act. Her tone was sharp and bitter as she hissed, You must be so proud of yourself. You get to marry a city guy. You only took the pocket watch because you wanted to marry Jason, she snapped. I asked calmly, Didn't you say last time that marrying Jason made you feel wronged? That it wasn't anything special? That's only because he liked you before, she shouted, almost hysterical. If he had met me first, he would have fallen for me. If I marry him, he'll definitely love me. So that was it. She had wanted to marry Jason herself. But not only did he never love her, they hadn't even had a real marriage. In the end, she had gone back and seduced Jacob Walker, then turned around and resented me. She wanted everything and blamed me when it didn't work out. If Jacob loves you, then be with him, I said flatly. Let's just see if he can handle it. Despite everything, we still held 2 separate wedding banquets. One for Jacob and Emily, one for Jason and me. Jacob went all out, putting together 10 tables, each with 2 or 3 meat dishes. Though the villagers gossiped behind their backs, no one dared say anything after feasting like that. Jason originally wanted to host an even grander banquet, but I stopped him. Why should we treat people who talk behind our backs? Let's save the money for ourselves. In the end, we held a simple mid-range banquet. Still, Jason promised me, I'll make sure to give you the grandest wedding one day. That night, I moved into the small house Jason had been assigned as a city volunteer. It had 2 rooms and a living area. It wasn't large, but it was clean and well kept. He had clearly added many new touches. There was a large bookshelf and a vanity table, newly stocked with all the perfumes and accessories popular among girls. There were fresh towels, toothbrushes, and wash basins, all brand new. After I washed up, Jason opened a wooden box from the cabinet and placed its contents into my hands one by one. This is my monthly volunteer stipend. I started saving it the day I met you. These are also the ration coupons my dad sent from the city. All of it is yours now. I looked at the thick stack of bills and coupons in shock. He had saved up so much. I counted roughly 500 yuan, enough to support a family of 5 for 2 years. I know the villagers talk about you, Jason said, eyes sparkling like stars. But I swear I'll never leave you. I'll give you the best I can. I believe you, I whispered. Later that night, after we'd turned off the lights, I couldn't help trembling as memories of the pain from my past life resurfaced. It's okay. Don't be afraid. You're so beautiful, Anna, Jason murmured. He didn't force anything. Instead, he gently comforted me with soft kisses, patient and tender. The next morning, I woke up feeling clean and fresh. No discomfort at all. I hadn't known something so intimate could be this gentle, this loving. My face flushed just thinking about it. Wifey's awake, Jason called. Come have breakfast. He had gone out early to buy fresh meat buns and made a pot of green vegetable porridge. I ate until I was full and content. After Jason left for work, Emily barged into the house without even knocking. Her cheeks were flushed and she was limping slightly as she walked. Living in this dump, what a disgrace, Emily sneered as she looked around the small house. Her gaze swept over the room, and when she saw the elegant pearwood vanity, a flash of envy crossed her eyes before she quickly replaced it with smugness. Our house is so big, we don't even use all the rooms, she bragged. This isn't even as big as my bedroom. Sure, the Walker house was big but completely unrefined. Their rooms were crammed with firewood and animal carcasses from Jacob's hunting. Just walking through it was exhausting. What's the point of space if all you can do is pace between walls full of clutter? Jacob sweated constantly and didn't like to bathe. If I ever reminded him, he'd drag me into bed and snap. What? You think you're too good for me? Seeing I wasn't rising to her jabs, Emily's voice grew louder. Well, I get to eat meat at every meal now, and I don't have to work in the fields. Once Jason goes back to the city, he won't want you anymore. Just wait. You'll regret this. Congratulations, I said dryly, eating sunflower seeds while nodding toward the bruises on her arms and neck. What happened there? Emily's face turned as red as a boiled shrimp. You don't understand, she snapped. This is just how love works. It looked more like she got beaten. Jacob had always been rough, never caring how his wife felt. Emily must have expected me to look at her with envy like the other village women did. But when I didn't, she slammed the door and stormed off. Growing up, everyone told us that marriage was nothing like being a carefree girl. You had to be prepared to suffer. Even though Jacob never let me work outside in my past life, I was still expected to cook, clean, and handle everything at home. And that, people said, was the good life others envied. Only after marrying Jason did I learn that a man could share the housework too. After lying in bed to recover for more than 2 weeks, my body finally felt light again. I wanted to do something, anything. I glanced at Jason, who was reading a book, and asked tentatively, "Do you think I could help out in the fields to earn some work points?" He tapped his pen against his forehead and frowned slightly. My heart clenched. Did he also think I should stay home? Anna, he said. Have you ever thought about going back to school? There was a village school, but most kids dropped out after elementary to help their families work and earn labor credits. I was the same. Later, when the policy encouraged people to return to school, I said I wanted to go back, but my parents refused. They said it was embarrassing for someone my age to sit in a classroom with children. But now, with the college entrance exam reinstated, anyone could take the test and go to university. If you want to study, Jason said gently, I'll send you to school. If not, I'll teach you myself or we can learn a trade together. But I can't stand the thought of you getting cuts from cutting grass or bruises from carrying vegetables. I asked the question that had always been in my heart. Wouldn't it be shameful for someone my age to go back to school? Jason chuckled. Why would it be? Education makes you wise and you're smart, Anna. I'm sure you'll do great. From that day on, I started carrying the school bag Jason prepared for me and went back to school. The teacher, Miss Han, was a city volunteer like Jason. She rarely got female students, so she took her teaching very seriously and gave me extra help. One day, on my way home after school, a few village women stopped me. Hey Anna, haven't seen your sister around lately. Is she expecting? I'm not sure, I replied. Emily usually loved being in crowds, but ever since her wedding, she'd completely disappeared. It wasn't hard to guess. Jacob must have locked her up at home. I didn't see her again until 3 days later. When I did, I noticed she no longer spoke to any men and seemed meek and withdrawn. She kept running back to our parents' house and even started showing up at mine every other day, claiming she missed me. If no one was home, she'd just let herself in. But I didn't have time to worry about her. Every day was packed. School in the morning and at night, Jason would quiz me on what I'd learned. It was a happy kind of stress. One day during math class, the kids suddenly erupted with excitement. Let's go. I heard a car came to the village. Like a real car with 4 wheels, like in the movies. Hurry. Let's get good spots. Even the teacher didn't stop them. I let the kids rush out. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom, I saw Jason standing in the sunlight, smiling brightly. Your ride is here, he said. Wife, are you ready to come home with me? He gently reached for my hand, lacing our fingers tightly together. Of course I am, I replied. Goodbye, Riverfield Village, the place that had trapped me for a lifetime. All Jason brought with him was our paperwork. He took my books and the ration coupons, and we headed toward the village entrance. We didn't pack the sheets or clothes, I said. We've got bedding at home, he replied. And we'll buy you all new clothes when we get back. Lots of styles. You'll look beautiful in everything. Word had already spread that Jason was the son of a high-ranking official, and that a car had been sent especially to pick him up. The whole village had come out to see us off. You'd never guess that not long ago they all treated him with suspicion and disdain. Daughter, you can't leave. My mother, Linda, suddenly rushed over, grabbing both of my arms tightly. If you go, what will your dad and I do? Jason's expression darkened. Mother-in-law, what exactly are you trying to say? You expect us to live apart now. Wiping her eyes, Linda choked out. We just can't bear to see you go. Once your husband's gone, you can just move back in with us. Have him send you some money each month. His father's a high official. They won't miss it. I gave a cold laugh and yanked her hands off me. I turned to look at my father, Robert Miller, and said, You want me to go back to how it was? Getting up before dawn to cook your breakfast, feeding the chickens and ducks every day, working through the summer heat to care for everyone, and still pay rent just to live in my own parents' house? You seriously want more? Robert's eyes went wide with fury. Ungrateful daughter. How dare you talk to your father like that? He raised his hand to slap me, but Jason stepped in, grabbing his wrist and flinging it away. My wife is coming with me, Jason said coldly. And don't you still have another daughter? Just because Anna's hardworking and filial doesn't mean you get to keep her prisoner. He pulled me into his arms and said, his tone even sharper, Too many parents clip their children's wings just to keep them close for their own convenience. And in doing so, they destroy their future. Tears welled in my eyes. This time, I wasn't being locked up by the people around me. I was being supported, truly supported. to go wherever I wanted. Robert and Linda fell silent, unable to argue. With Jason there, they didn't even dare come near. We had just climbed into the car when someone suddenly stepped in front of it. Jason-chun, you can't take her. It was Emily. The driver had no choice but to stop. What now, Emily? Jason asked, clearly losing patience. Emily's hair was a mess, one shoe missing, and she was out of breath. I'm the one who's legally married to you. You have to take me. The villagers erupted into chaos. Isn't she the little sister? How is she suddenly saying she's Jason's wife? Legal marriage? Since when does the law say who counts as a wife? Clearly, she just wants to go to the city and live easy. Now she's fighting her own sister for a man. I say take them both. Someone yelled. Left and right arm. Win-win. The crude joke came from one of the village's infamous bachelors, earning plenty of disapproving stares. But everyone knew the truth. Wherever the registration book said you lived, that's where you legally belonged. Otherwise, you were considered a vagrant. Jason and I exchanged a knowing glance. We already understood what Emily was up to. This is the marriage certificate, Emily declared proudly, unfolding a document. Look, my name is on it. Emily Miller. Don't believe me? See for yourselves. I pretended not to understand. What's that? Emily smirked triumphantly. You really are a bumpkin. Don't you know? Captain's wife said once. You've got this paper. Nobody can abandon you. If they do, it's a crime. Apparently, she'd been gossiping with the wife of the squad captain a lot lately. She probably just wanted to teach him how to keep a man. Never thought he'd use that knowledge to take someone else's husband. Anna, your husband is Jacob Walker. Emily shouted. You should stay at the Walker house and give him children. Then she pulled out another marriage certificate and threw it in my face. You were the one who was supposed to marry that psycho Jacob. He still wants you, you know. He keeps saying your skin is softer and you're prettier than me. Thinking she had the upper hand, Emily started saying things that were downright disgusting. Jason's fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white, as if he was about to punch her. I gently patted his hand, and he calmed down. He reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and pulled out a still pristine marriage certificate. Anna and I registered half a year ago. This one is real. Yours doesn't count. Emily saw both our names on the document and shouted. I used the household registration book to get a replacement certificate. Why doesn't it count? I raised an eyebrow. So that's why you kept coming to my house. You were trying to steal our documents. She had probably used someone else's ID to forge a marriage certificate with Jason's name, but ours was already registered. There were official records. If they didn't believe it, they could go check with the authorities. You know it's a crime to steal someone's ID and forge a marriage record, right? You might as well turn yourself in while you're at it, I said with a half smile. Emily's face went pale with fear. Yours is the fake one, she shrieked. Then, like she'd lost her mind, she lunged at us to grab the real certificate. Jason swiftly tucked the document away and dodged, letting her fall flat on the ground. She sat there crying. Take me with you, she sobbed. Jacob will kill me if I go back. He locks me up every day. I'm not even allowed to talk to anyone. She scrambled to her feet just as Jacob arrived. Seeing him, Emily dropped to the ground again and buried her face. I don't want her, Jacob growled, his expression darker than I'd ever seen. I treat you well, don't I? I feed you meat every day, give you good clothes, and still you try to run. You trying to sneak around with other men now. He shouted, catching sight of the forged marriage certificate lying near her feet. Something seemed to click in his mind. So that's why you wanted the registration book to pull this stunt. You think you can dream your way into the city? You came crawling to me first, then told me not to propose because you had your eyes on Jason. And I let it go. But now you're still thinking about him. I'll show you what it means to be a loyal wife, he roared. With that, he yanked Emily up and threw her over his shoulder like a sack, carrying her off. Someone tried to step in. Hey, maybe don't hit her. But the crowd pulled him back. Stay out of it. That's between husband and wife. They'll fight on the bed. Makeup on the pillow, someone said, brushing it off. No one lifted a finger, pretending not to see what might happen next. With that ugly scene behind us, We finally climbed into the car and left for the city. My parents didn't follow us or try to plead on Emily's behalf anymore. They'd gone off to the Walker house. When we arrived in City B, I was shocked to see that the Chun family lived in a European-style house. Jason's parents had already prepared a room for us, and there was a whole row of brand new clothes waiting for me. His mom didn't show even a hint of dislike toward me for being a village girl. She held my hand and patiently taught me how to use all the machines I'd never seen before. I was amazed. Water didn't have to be drawn from a well. You could just twist the tap and it would flow out. The light fixtures were beautiful and bright, lighting the whole house like it was daytime. That night, even though I thought I'd have trouble sleeping in a new place, I sank into the soft bed and had the most peaceful, comfortable sleep of my life. We even held another wedding in the city. I wore a wedding dress that came all the way from the capital. I was afraid people might think it was too revealing, but to my surprise everyone praised me. The bride is stunning. Jason's one lucky man. Anna's not even 20 yet. Jason better treat her right. Once I'd settled into city life, I officially enrolled in high school. Students there were all different ages, even some in their 30s. There were plenty of girls too. Boys and girls weren't separated, and we all studied and hung out together. I made a lot of friends. After school, Jason would still help me review my homework, patiently explaining each question. He always told me, "You need to study hard so you can take the college entrance exam next year. College is even more fun than high school." Watching him stay up late to organize study notes for me after finishing his own work, even helping plan my future college life. I asked him one night, "Jason, aren't you afraid that after I go to college, I might end up with someone else?" After spending this much time in the city, I had already learned that many classmates dated while in school. Some even got involved with others despite being married. "Would you?" he asked, brushing the tip of my nose with a smile. "Of course not," I said. "You're so good to me. No one could compare." "I don't even talk to male classmates," I added. Jason gave me a gentle look. "Anna, of course you can talk to male classmates. I love you and I know you love me. You won't leave me just because someone else comes along. You don't have to restrict yourself for my sake." My nose stung with emotion again. Real love wasn't about locking someone up or keeping them sheltered. It was about helping them grow, making them stronger, and never holding them back from the world. In the summer of my third year back in the city, I was accepted into a local university to major in literature. Not long after I started school, I received a letter from my parents. They said Emily had given birth to a child the year before, but Jacob still beat her often. Her body was covered in bruises. She could barely take care of herself. And now that they were getting old, they had no one left to rely on. They wanted to come live with me in the city. Word of me getting into college had made its way back to the village. Along with some new policy changes, it seemed they were dreaming again. I didn't write back. Instead, I sent Emily some money and left it to her to decide whether she wanted to leave. But their letter did remind me of something. It had been 4 years. Why hadn't I gotten pregnant? That night, I sat on the bed and looked at Jason. "Seriously, do you think something's wrong with me?" I asked. He turned his head, gently brushing my earlobe with his fingers. No, Jason was always tender. He never hurt me. But sometimes being too gentle made things overwhelming in its own way. When someone is gentle to the extreme, even softness can be irresistible. Seeing my worried expression, Jason smiled and stroked my back. "It's because you're still young and haven't finished school. There's no rush to have a baby. Or do you want one now?" He looked down and asked softly. I didn't answer because I had already fallen asleep. That night, I had a dream. In it, I saw how things had played out in my past life. After Emily and Jason returned to the city, they continued living at the Chun family home, but they always lived separately. Emily often went to her workplace asking for things, begging for favors from everyone. When Jason suggested she go back to school, she accused him of looking down on her and blew up. Their relationship became even more strained. One New Year's, Emily returned to our parents' house and rekindled things with Jacob. At that time, I had already been pregnant. I saw her and Jacob fooling around in the cornfield, completely lost in each other. And in that dream, I still knew nothing. I was just grateful to the sister who regularly sent money and gifts from the city. Except those things had actually come from Jason all along. After I died from complications during childbirth, Jason rushed back to Riverfield. Ignoring societal taboos, he forcibly took my body and brought it to the hospital for an autopsy. The result? I hadn't died from a natural labor complication. Someone had deliberately cut me open, causing me to bleed to death. Emily and Jacob were convicted of murder and sentenced to prison. Jason erected a gravestone for me in City B. On it he engraved, "To my beloved Anna." He wept bitterly at the grave. I shouldn't have believed Emily when she said, "You hated me. I should have gone back to see you," he sobbed. Back then, when Jason realized he had been deceived, he had wanted to back out. But Emily pulled out the pocket watch and claimed it was from me, that I wanted him to help her get away from me. That's why he ended up marrying her. Only because he thought he was doing it for my sake. "I should have taken you away," Jason said. "It's my fault this happened to you. Anna, you saved my life once. Now it's time I repaid that debt." Rain began to pour from the sky. The blood on Jason's body stained the water on the ground red. I tried to reach out and cover his wounds, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move. I woke up crying, tears streaming down my cheeks. Beside my ear was Jason's gentle voice, warm like jade. "What's wrong? Bad dream?" "It's okay, sweetheart. Dreams aren't real." I threw my arms around him, clinging to his warmth, his very real and living presence. Only then did I fully feel that he was still here, still alive. Thank God we were both still alive. "Honey," I whispered, "if something ever happened to me, if I wasn't around anymore, what would you do?" Jason smiled. "So, that's what the dream was about. If you weren't around," he said playfully, "I'd find a new girlfriend and give her all your pretty jewelry." "No way." I stopped crying instantly and started playfully hitting him. He laughed and apologized like a mischievous kid, his eyes deep and dark as ink, but filled with so much warmth. He would never let me be alone. "Then take care of yourself," I said. "You have to live to be 100.